All right, guys, so to take the axle, you need a socket for the nut. It's a 32 millimeter socket, deep socket. These sockets are heavy duty, made for axles. If you don't have a partner that can step on the brake for you, you need a bar to lock in the studs like so. So you can go ahead and put the wrench on there with an extension for leverage, a pipe again. And if that doesn't work, if it's too tight, especially after you hit the lock, you bend the lock back, you're gonna need a torch. Put a little bit of heat on it and give it hell and it'll come out. That's what I'm about to do. Heat it up like so. And the metal will expand and it'll give in for you. And in some cases, not even the heat takes the nut off. Or the heat doesn't help to remove the nut. I gotta think about what am I gonna do now. Maybe get a longer cheater bar, a longer breaker bar, and try that, because it does not want to come out. I never had a problem like this. I mean, they're on there good. This one just won't come out, won't budge. Anyway, guys, stay tuned. We'll figure something out. So it's a few days later, guys, and I cannot get the nut for the axle out no matter what. I've broken my breaker bars of 1/2 inch. I broke an adapter that goes from 3/4 to 1/2 inch. Broke that, and ended up grabbing a 3/4 breaker bar with a 3/4 socket and extension, and that ended up stripping it. I even bought an electric impact, and it just doesn't want to come out. I heated it up with an induction heater. I heated it up with the yellow torch. It didn't matter what I used. I used penetrant, and that's on the other side too. This one is stripped, the other one is not stripped, but it also doesn't want to come out. I put a long extension pipe on it. That's set up right there, the pipe and the breaker bar, and I gave it hell, man. And all I was doing was just bending and breaking, but the nut did not budge. So now I got a plasma cutter. This is one of the cheapest plasma cutter you can get through Amazon. I don't know, and eBay. I got it from Amazon, maybe for $180 or something. I had it for a long time. I had it put away for in case I needed it. Actually, I was planning on doing the manifolds on the F250, and I figure I buy it for that. But I'm gonna try cutting that nut off with that. I don't know if it's gonna work or not, but at least I'm gonna try it. So stay tuned, fellas. Let me see if it works. And if it works, I'll leave the link in the description for this item. I got my Harbor Freight cheap compressor that, I don't know, these things don't, some days it works, some days it doesn't. Right now it's not working at 100%, but it's working at least to give me 30 PSI. So let's get it, man. Let's see what happened. I'll keep you guys informed of how it worked, and I'll show you. The video it's not about this. The video is actually about removing the transmission, but we got a problem, and I'm gonna show you how I solved it. Well, guys, between the plasma cutter and carbide tips, and I even use a cutting wheel on a grinder, on an angle grinder, and one of these tools, I finally got it to where it's gonna come out. Yes, I messed up the CV joint shaft threads, but I'm gonna replace that anyways. The other one on the other side, I'm gonna try something different, but even if I have to ruin it, I have to replace it. It's no big deal, because if I replace one, I should replace the other one. And guys, don't get discouraged. Not all the time this happens. This is the first time that I had these type of nuts on a CV axle fight me all the way to the end. They usually come out, and if they're tight, you use a breaker bar, and a piece of pipe, and that usually works. This is the first time in all my years of experience that I've had to deal with this. I guess I gotten lucky, but I don't see this often, so don't get discouraged. If you have a acetylene torch, that will be the quickest way of heating it up enough to where it probably come off with the breaker bar and the socket and the extension pipe. And if it doesn't, at least with the acetylene torch, you can give it a relief cut, and then it'll probably come out like it's doing now. But yeah, it's almost out, guys. And that's the way it looks. Came right out. The axle is free, and it's not ruined or anything here in the hole in the hub. I did cut a little bit of the hub here, and I was trying to be careful not to run. You really don't want to damage this part, because that is where your rim sits right here, and it needs that to align properly. But that's ready to come out. Hopefully the other side, I don't know if I'm going to do the same or I'm going to try something different. I don't know, we'll see. This took me about 2 hours. Yeah, hour and a half, 2 hours. I wasn't counting, but it's been a while. I was out here sweating my ass off. All right, guys, it's the next day, and I'm working on the right side. Same deal. The nut did not want to come out, and I've been cutting it with the plasma cutter. You know, just taking material out. Now, the plasma cutter is for cutting flat stock usually. So it's not the right tool for this, but it definitely helped me. It took some of the material out, along with the angle grinder. That one right there with the cutting disc. That's how I started. I make cuts like this, like this, like this, like this. And then with the plasma cutter, I would cut, take some material off, then hit it with the chisel, open it up. See, I took the very beginning of the nut out, and that helps. And then just hitting it with the carbide, till I finally got it to split, and it started moving. I'm hitting it with the chisel and the hammer, and it's starting to come out. Yep, and now it's pretty much loose. Almost there. Oh. And yeah, this thing is stuck on there, and it ruined the threads, but oh, okay. Very good. So that's loose, and I didn't make no damage to this, except for a few little nicks, but that's fine. I'm gonna have to replace the axle on this side too, which is fine. But yeah, I haven't been able to move forward because of this. So guys, if you get stuck like this, don't get discouraged. You can take it out as long as you got tools. You know, I used a combination of tools, but if you have an acetylene torch, like I said before, that would definitely speed up the process. Definitely, because you can do it all with the torch. You're gonna need the torch, you're gonna need the chisel and the hammer, and just make a relief cut or heat it up. You can heat it up pretty much more, a lot more than with that torch. You can get it red, and maybe it'll come out for you. But if it doesn't, you just make a relief cut with the torch, with the acetylene torch, and then go to town with the chisel and the hammer. It'll come out. All right, well, I guess now we can move forward. So the next step is going to be removing the CV joint axles. After you get the nuts off, then now the next step would be to go on the bottom and take that bolt of the lower control arm ball joint, remove this, and then bring down the lower control arm, separate it from here, so that we have enough room to move this whole assembly out of the way to give the CV joint space to come out. All right, fellas, I got the bolt from underneath here. control arm and bushing and knuckle. You're gonna need a 14mm and a 15mm wrench or sockets to get it out, and then you have to hit it with the hammer to get it out. You might need a punch to finish taking it out. It's a good idea to lubricate with PB Blaster before you start doing this kind of stuff. It came out easy, but in some cases you might need the penetrant oil. Same thing with the other side. I'm gonna go on the other side, on the driver's side, do the same thing. All right, I got this one out, and in this case, it was 14 and 13. The other side was 15 and 14mm. So you know, you might encounter the same thing. It might be different on one side, but it also came out pretty easy. I'll just secure that right there, and then on this side, I already got the lower control arm separated from the hole where it was sitting. So now I should be able to just pull this out this way, and with the other hand grab onto the axle and take it out of the back of the knuckle. Very easy. But I'm gonna need both hands, so give me 1 second. And there it is, completely out. I wonder if this thing is, yeah, see, this is gonna have to be replaced. If you feel that the ball joint on the lower control arm is like this and the boot is torn, you're gonna have to replace it. I mean, you can use it for now, but that's gonna make noises, and it's dangerous to drive around like this. I'm gonna have to replace that. It's a common wear item on these cars anyways. So, you know, with the transmission being replaced, I'm gonna have these out and replaced because of this situation on this one, and because the other side is torn on the boot. Also gonna order lower control arms. All right, so on the other side is gonna be the same thing. I have to go ahead and remove the lower control arm from the knuckle, and then with both hands pull the knuckle assembly out and remove CV joint from the back of it. And there it is. Driver's side is out of the knuckle. Now I gotta go ahead and remove it from the transmission. Same thing on the other side. I'm gonna get underneath it and I'm gonna try to pry or hit with the hammer the ball like this to separate it from the transmission. Sometimes they fight you, sometimes they come out easy. Also, have a container ready in case transmission fluid comes out. Okay, I'm underneath the transmission on the driver's side. This is where I'm gonna put the pry bar, right here, and try to pull this CV joint out. Okay, the same thing with that one, only that one is way over there. And I usually gotta hit that one with the hammer to get it out. And this one usually is just with the pry bar. All right, guys, the pry bar didn't fit, but I used a long chisel that I have and place it right there where I showed you guys. Hit it with the hammer, and eventually it came out. It's already leaking transmission fluid. That means it popped out of the seal. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove it and let the oil drip. There it is, it's out. Like always, I gotta make a little bit of a mess. That's why I like to use cardboard and sheets of plywood so that I don't mess up the driveway or the floor, pavement, what you call asphalt. Man, when it comes to mechanics, it's always going to be a mess. You can try the best you can, but you can't control everything. Sometimes you get so into it, you forget certain details. Anyway, there's the bad one. I'm gonna have to replace. Let it drip, and then I'll move on to the other side. All right, guys, well, this one is dripping. I'm gonna go ahead and move on to this one. If I'm not mistaken, this one doesn't leak. because the shaft is the one connected to the tranny, and I'm not gonna remove this. I'm gonna separate the CV joint from here. I usually hit it. I'll try with the bar, with the pry bar, but if it doesn't, I'll just hit it right here, and it usually comes right off. Hopefully it doesn't leak. As far as I know, it doesn't leak, but this, I guess we'll find out again together. See, I'm hitting it right here, guys. Right here. Well, one hand I'm hitting it right here and rotating it as I'm hitting it, and with the other hand I'm grabbing onto this side to guide it so it doesn't fall on me. Okay, it's already starting to come out. And it's out. And it's not leaking. So we're good here. Always remember, one side is gonna leak, driver's side. All right, I decided to drain the fluid. That's one thing you wanna do, maybe to prevent that from leaking as much, or just to get the transmission to not have as much fluid in it so that maybe it's not as heavy, or to prevent any messes. For whatever reason you do it. I'm doing it just so that it's not that heavy. I'm doing it on the ground, so the less weight the better. And also to prevent messes. You're gonna need a, what size is that? 8mm for the plug, the drain plug. That guy right there. Alright, once that is done draining, I guess the next thing is we do have to remove this shaft, because see how this is the engine. It's bolt on the side of the engine. But it seems like 3 bolts. You know, we're gonna go ahead and remove those 3 bolts, and hopefully we can pull the shaft from the transmission. There might be some oil coming out of there. I doubt it, because it just drained on the other side where the other axle went in. But there is a possibility some oil may come out. If you can't take it out, I guess as long as it's removed off the engine, it's disconnected from the engine, it will come down with the tranny, and then you can remove it outside. But we're gonna try to do it here. Hopefully it just pops right out. So I'm gonna go ahead and figure out what size are those. They look like 14. I'm gonna go ahead and make sure and take them off. All right, guys, I'm working on the last bolt. They are 14mm, and as you can tell, it's almost out. The last bolt's giving me a little bit of a hard time, but they weren't that tight. All right, it's disconnected. Hopefully it doesn't give me a hard time. Oh yeah, came out easy, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and work my way around the side of the engine and take it out. Perfect. Oh yeah, no problem. That's how it looks. No oil came out, but I was ready. I had the pan already here. But like I said, it drained on the other side. See, there's a hole to where the other axle bolts in on the other side, which is right there. All right, so that's done. So the next step would be we have to remove these. Let's mount, and then start working on the bolts on the bell housing. What the bell housing connects to from the tranny to the engine. But I think there's some bolts up here that we can't get to them unless we remove this cover right here on the exhaust, because the bolts are back there somewhere. As you can tell, look, there's a bolt right there that is halfway out. I didn't do that. Or maybe that's a nut. Not sure if it's a stud or a nut. Somebody forgot. See, I knew this transmission was replaced before. So I see stuff like that and I'm like, yep, somebody else been here before. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and remove these bolts, get this out of the way, and then probably take this cover off. And maybe the top cover off too on the exhaust. I think this is the catalytic converter maybe? Yeah. Alright guys. So I removed the transmission mount that was here. There it is. Remove these 3 bolts, 14mm head, and the longer one that goes through here, through the floor. That's a 16mm head. And now it's completely out of the way. Now we continue to move forward to see what do we have to do to continue to access all the bolts on the side of the transmission. This one is loose, like they couldn't bolt it on. I bet you it's because they never took this cover off. How they got it out, I don't have no idea. But that's not even attached to the tranny anymore. So maybe they took it out and they left it there. And I think it's missing another one from the top. There's supposed to be another one on the top, above of that one. And it's missing. I don't know if you guys can see it, but I can. It's on the other side. Yeah, you can't see it, but I can from here. Above that. Yeah, maybe right there. Right there, you can see the hole. It's completely missing. So I guess the only one we have to remove is this one from here, from this side. And then go around, remove this one. And probably go on top where the transmission is. And from the other side here, there's another one that was not there anymore. Maybe I removed that one to start it. No. Probably on the top. Definitely this one here, and this one here. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and remove those bolts. That's on the transmission. Oh, and this is another reason why I think it's been replaced. It got markings like this from the junkyard. They usually mark stuff like that. Look, there's another number there. That's not a factory mark, cause that's from a junkyard. Factories are like stuff like this. That's factory. Those little dots, yellow dots and green dots. See, there's green dots on the hose. Yellow dots, sorry. There's yellow dots and stuff like this. If I'm not mistaken. Definitely those for sure. But anyway, guys, see, there's more yellow from factory when I guess they mark when they're done with a certain area. I'm gonna go ahead and remove those bolts and start maybe bringing down the transmission. After those are removed, then I don't have my transmission jack, so I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do it now. But I'm gonna go remove the bolts, and then we'll see where we're at, because this one has to come out too in order for it to lower it. But it needs to be supported. The engine needs to be supported too before we move forward, because this can fall on us and we don't want that. We also don't want to break anything. Alright guys, so I got this one from here, from the bottom of the tranny. And then there's another one here. And then there's another one up here on the side. Let's see, look at my hand. See this part right here of the engine? It's back here. Right here. They're all 14. And then on the top there's 2 more. On the top there's 2 more. There's another one missing here in this corner. This is where the starter sits, right here. That's missing. Like on the other side, like I showed you, was missing. There's one missing, the other one's loose. And then on the top, there's 2 more. The ones I showed you on the top from gotta get these two on the top. That one. And the other one that's right next to it somewhere here. There it is. Okay, I got these two out from the top. Now I'm gonna start trying to split the transmission from the engine. But before we do that, we have to support the engine. And then put a jack underneath the tranny. Support the engine with another jack and a piece of wood. And start prying on the transmission. So, like I was saying, guys, I was missing 2 bolts, and then one that is loose. 2 bolts are missing completely, and one who's hanging there is loose. So if you count those, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Is it 7 bolts? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8 bolts. Let me so I counted. It's supposed to be 9 bolts, and I found another one that so down here, I took this one out. This one out, right? I was on the side of the transmission. Took this one out, and then I was showing you that there was one on the side up here somewhere, and then the one in the corner is missing. And as I'm looking, there's another one right here coming from the other side into the engine. So there's 9 bolts. If you're removing all of them, you should have 9 bolts removed. And at that point, you can start prying on the transmission, knowing that it's going to come apart. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this one. As I'm removing that bolt, there's separation happening between the engine and transmission. So I'm going to go ahead and support everything before I finish removing that bolt, okay? And you should do the same. Make sure you support the engine transmission so that nothing falls on you or doesn't break or anything. Just start separating. I'm sure it's not going to fall because this thing got to mount, the engine and the tranny still got to mount. But who knows? We don't want it to move without us wanting it to move. Alright guys, I got the transmission and engine supported. Now I feel confident enough to go ahead and remove the last bolt like I was doing earlier, because I know that nothing's gonna fall on me. Reason why I put pieces of wood is to prevent any damage to the pans. Okay, fellas. Now we're gonna go ahead and try to split the transmission a little bit, and then go ahead and remove the top bolts. Actually, I can go ahead and remove the top bolts. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do next. On the transmission mount, that 1 bolt that we have to remove. I'll show you. That one. I'm gonna go ahead and remove that one, and then we'll be able to wiggle the transmission off the engine and bring it down. That was a 17 millimeter. Can't see anymore. Oh yeah, 17 millimeter. And as long as you got everything supported, it's not gonna drop on you, which is good. Okay, now that it's out, we're gonna go underneath and start lowering the transmission and splitting it. Hopefully we have enough room so that we can go in that direction, away from the engine. So find yourself a spot that is open, like so, and start splitting it. Try to get it away from the engine as much as you can. You might have to lower it the transmission, and then maybe even the engine a little bit to allow it to just flow off of it. See, I lowered it just a little bit, and it helped split it even more. All right, fellas, just work it like that till you get it to where it's completely off. Yeah, pull it as far as I can towards this side. As you can tell, look, it's hitting right there, so that's as far as I can go as far as coming towards the driver's side. I don't have a lot of room, but it should be pretty much separate. I'm gonna try to lower it and then work it. All right, fellas, this is what I got so far. I lowered the engine just a little bit to give it like a tilt, and then I pried more on the tranny here between the flywheel and the torque converter. Push it back that way, and I lowered the jack a little bit, and so far it's coming down. So I'm gonna go ahead and work it. I'm gonna need 2 hands for this, so I'll show you guys what I got. Why is it leaking from there? That's weird. Okay, I see. This is tough. Cooler. Oh, the cooler lines. It's dripping. All right. And she's out, guys. It got a little funky. I had to use the jack and one hand on the transmission supporting it because it wanted to fall on the arm of the jack. I didn't want to stay on the plate anymore. But it came down pretty smooth. It wasn't a big deal. It just, because of that part, it affects it because it sits in there, and when it's coming down, it hits that and it wants to come this way. But anyway, it's out, man. All I gotta do is just take it out from underneath the car. Oh yeah, and she's out. Completely separated from the engine. Now, if you're doing it just like me and you're pulling it out this way, be careful with the plugs and the hoses and the oil cooler. They're gonna wanna get stuck on the top and between here and here. And so I was pulling on it and I was like, what's holding it? It's because all that was just getting stuck. And you don't want to damage a plug or damage any cooling lines, because then you have more problems during the installation. And shit don't work right and you don't know why. It's because maybe you messed up the plugs. Maybe the wires pull from the plug, and that could be a major pain in the ass for you. So be very careful pulling it out. Don't get too excited. Get excited because this is a big accomplishment, but don't get too excited to where you're breaking shit. There you have it, folks. It's completely out. The installation process is going to be the opposite. It's going to be a pain in the ass to get it underneath, to get it lined up, but that's something you're going to have to work through. Take your time. Just take your time. Try to do things safe. If you get to the point where you get frustrated, walk away, take a break, and come back and kill it. Get it done. All right, fellas, if you like the video, if you learned something, please like. Subscribe is free. I'll catch you in the next video. If you have any questions, please go ahead and make comments, ask me questions. I'll try to answer you as best as I can. I'll leave links in the description for stuff that I use that help me. For example, the plasma cutter, if you want a plasma cutter like that. And stuff like that I use. I don't know, I'll think about it. But thank you for watching again. Catch you in the next one.